So as far as the what DSA does or what Doctoral Student Association does is that we partner with people on campus. We do partnerships with the alumni relations regarding meeting people who've already gone out of RIT, who've also members in the industry. As far as social events, we try to do things like this. So like we have a social mixer, or we'll have a barbecue or a get together at the end of the year for all the members of the RIT. And even when we talk about the outreach and the other professional events, we normally tend to do talk to a museum in Rochester or do certain events with different bodies across Rochester. So as I said, like, yeah, for personal development or for social gatherings, we tend to do barbecues or meeting at certain bars and areas around RIT. And we like get together, discuss multidisciplinary events from to members from different departments. And after that, we can, as far as professional development go, yes, we had a employer panel some 2 years ago where we were talking with industry experts about how to actually update your resume or what are the things that you should know when you're applying for jobs or positions after you finish your PhD. So those were the different things. And again, for outreach, we had one of the events with the Rochester Science Museum where we were showing different basic experiments to kids and get them interested in science and other areas. So if you if you want to get in connection with DSA, of course you have these different ways. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel that we've recently started. We have the campus group barcode right there. You can go to our Facebook page, even our LinkedIn groups and pages where you can connect with people. We do have a welcome back mixer. Of course, it's going to be virtual given the circumstances, but we do have a welcome back mixer that people are free to attend during next week. And we'll be having some games and stuff like that. So as far as today's panelists go, we have these following members. My name, as I said, is Parth Mehta. I'm the president of the Doctoral Student Association. Also, I'm a third year PhD in engineering student working with additive manufacturing.
So I am Cyril. I'm the vice president of DSA at the moment, and I'm a PhD student in computer science. So I'll leave it out to Omar to introduce himself.
Hi, everyone. My name is Omar Aponte, and I'm the current treasurer for DSA. And I am a fourth-year PhD in engineering student.
Hi, everyone. This is Gaurav. I'm a third-year PhD student in computing and information sciences, and my research focuses on cybersecurity in smart grid domain, and I'm the public relation in DSA. Yeah. Jade.
Hello, everybody. I'm Jade Myers. I'm a PhD student in engineering. I'm also adjunct faculty in the biomedical engineering department. Teach a couple classes there. My research is focused on 3D upper limb prosthetics, mostly in Haiti, but for other underserved areas of the world. So if anybody has questions about, I guess, the biomedical engineering sort of side of studies, then I would be a good person to ask about that.
Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Owens. I actually just defended my PhD in engineering this past July, so I am officially graduated, which is very exciting. But I was focused on early breast cancer detection, which was a non-invasive method and a collaborative study that we did locally with the Rochester General Hospital. I will be starting my new job in about a week and a half, and I'll be a clinical research coordinator at UMass Medical School, focusing on clinical efficacy of COVID-related medical devices. So that should be very interesting.
Okay, so we are panelists today, and we're going to try and see if we can answer most of your questions. With that, I'll leave the floor open for people who have questions regarding.
You can use the Q&A to reach out to us, and the Q&A section should be open for you to ask questions. So while we get started on while the questions come in, so Elisa and the rest of the panel. So since some of students are coming in out of Rochester, how about we tell about what stuff to do around Rochester, go to hiking and eating and all sorts of places. I guess Path will take the hiking parts.
Yeah, so Rochester has a pretty rich culture. It's definitely a diverse culture, I think you'll notice. And even with the pandemic, although we've had to cancel a lot of our bigger events and festivals, there's still a lot to do here to keep yourself entertained and sane. One thing Rochester is known for, at least in my opinion, is the local restaurants. We have a really big restaurant scene here. And even though Henrietta, where RIT is, you'll see a lot of bigger chain restaurants. If you go into the actual city of Rochester, you have a lot of these smaller restaurants that are family-owned businesses. And they, you can get pretty much any kind of food that you're looking for. Really, really excellent food. I highly recommend venturing into downtown Rochester just to explore the restaurant scene. Along with that is also bars. We have a great bar scene here if you're interested in that. Again, most of these places are open at the moment. Luckily, Rochester has had a relatively low caseload so far, so we were able to kind of fast track our opening of things. Besides all of that, if you're not interested in food or in drinking, we actually have a lot of parks. We have a lot of local national parks and state parks that we're close to. And one other thing that I'll mention before Parth talks about hiking is the Rochester Public Market. So if you're able to go to the public market, RIT used to have a bus that would go every Saturday morning. I'm not sure if they're still planning on doing that or if they're still doing that. But if you're able to get to the Rochester Public Market, it's, in my opinion, one of the cheapest ways you can do your grocery shopping, depending on how you do it and what you are looking for. You have all of these farmers from all over the area who come and sell their fresh produce. You can get eggs and meat and cheese. There's also some vineyards and some distillers that come if you're looking to spice up your Saturday morning a little bit. It's a really excellent place. So highly recommend.
Okay, so, well, since I was asked to say about hiking, well, of course, we know that there are so many mountain ranges out there. Again, I am not from around here. I'm from Mumbai, India. So I came here about 6 years ago now. And luckily, I had this group of people who also do love hiking, and we were able to do stuff in and around Rochester, in the New York area. We even went down like Ohio, and of course, before everything started. But you do have a lot of options to go to state parks, a lot of different national parks and everything. And you have lots and lot of different hikes from going 2-3 miles up to 10-15, or even professional hikers if you like that. So outdoor activities, there are quite a lot and around Rochester. You even have events in Rochester, like laser tag and stuff like that. Also, there is. So you can go trampoline park, laser tag. You have, and other things also. So it's quite a lively place to hang around and be there while you still finish your PhD.
All right.
And,
So it seems like we have our first question. So this will be a general question, and I think it'll be an interesting since we have a variety of panelists here. So the question is, what is the one thing you wish you knew going into your first year as a PhD student? So I hope everyone can answer it. And I'll start off with my experiences. Well, have something, in my case, I have an iPad, like something to take down notes, which can record at the same time. It'll come in handy in numerous ways you may never know. All right, rest of the panelists, what is your experiences?
I would go for it. Apart from of course, Cyril also had advised me to take an iPad, and because of him, I have an iPad too. So thank you for that, Cyril. And one thing which I wish that I should be more like interactive. Of course, everything was new, and I was a bit you can say scared to ask people like, oh, what is it? What are my courses? Which is the panel, you can say, which is the portal where all the professors upload the assignments and everything. Of course, each of them mention it, but since we are PhD student, sometimes the professors assume that we might know it because of course the instructions are there on the, you can say, website and everything, but still. So yeah, that was my takeaway. Yeah. Omar?
For me, actually, I didn't I did my master's here at RIT. So when I came in, I was pretty much I knew what I was getting myself into. But I would say something that actually that I wish I would have known earlier is what Alyssa mentioned about the public market, because you can definitely get really fresh vegetables and fruits over there. So I found that about that a little later when I was here at RIT.
Parth?
For the first year, I mean, I would say the main thing would be to make sure that you're going well with a course load, because the first 1-2 years is normally you're working both in your course and your research. So the first, you just want to make sure that you do not overload yourself in the first year or so unnecessarily, but at the same time be able to do things. So I don't. It differs as to how many courses you take, and all that differs from person to person and advisor to advisor and department. But you want to make sure that you can finish off a lot of your coursework, at least per my thinking. If you can finish it off early, it helps out a lot.
I guess I'll go. So I think for me, and I had some idea coming in because I did my undergraduate and other graduate work at RIT also. But I really wish I had a better idea, I guess, of what a lot of the different faculty were researching, sort of related to my area. And I think that if I could give some advice, because you have to eventually have a committee, for your PhD. So you really, and this committee is pretty important. So you want to choose the right people. And for me, it seemed like I found out sort of halfway through, more about the research that people were doing. And I thought, at first I had sort of an idea, I thought, of who I wanted on my committee, but that sort of changed as I learned more about what, research people were doing. So I guess my advice would be to, if you get a chance to, walk down the halls of different buildings and look at the walls and read, the posters and see what, kind of, there's lots of research posters just, posted that you can see what different faculty are doing and if they're related to your, interests. Other things I would suggest doing, look at the online RIT directory of the faculty. Usually you can find the research there too. So I guess that's one thing I think I wish I would have started on, I guess, a little earlier on in my PhD career.
And that's a great point, because while I was defending, I had an external committee chair who was from the imaging science program, which is completely different from everything that I was studying. But because my PhD involved different imaging systems, he was chosen to be my external committee member. And he had some amazing insights that we hadn't considered. So, you know, going off of what Jade said, I would also encourage you to look past your program and to look past your major, because it's amazing. The people at RIT, the professors at RIT, you know, there's so much there. And the imaging science program at RIT is one of the best in the world. So, you know, he had all of these amazing insights. And afterwards, him and my advisor started talking about potential collaborations for after I graduated. And I was like, oh, you know, if only we had known and thought about doing this beforehand. But what I was going to say was a good work-life balance. So similar to Omar and Jade, I did my bachelor's and my master's at RIT. So in terms of navigating Rochester and like the school, I already kind of had that down. But, you know, during my master's and my bachelor's, I was exhausted all the time, and that's all I did. All I did was school. And I really wanted to be better with a, you know, good work-life balance so that I could come home and unwind and not be constantly thinking about what was happening in the lab. And I definitely think that I succeeded in that. You know, I've had a great few years here during my PhD, and making sure that I had friends and a place to go to kind of escape and wind down.
Thank you, Elisa. So picking up from what Elisa said, we have a next, which is an interesting question. So who selects the courses for the students? And I'd like to open it up for the rest of the panel as well. And in my case, it depends on your research, and some of the courses are required already, but in more cases, in my case, even like I had to decide on based on my research. Some of my research is on natural language processing. So for these things, I had to take some courses which are offered by the English department. So it's more of the required courses are up to you, but the rest of it, you have to keep in touch with your advisor and follow their rules as well. So rest of the panel, do you have anything to add?
So in my case, of course, in general, I'm talking about, so the students are given an opportunity to enroll courses from other colleges as well in RIT itself. For example, my stats was weak. Of course, I took majority of the courses in, you can say, computing and information sciences. But last semester, I had enrolled for college, like I took you can say course in mathematics, that is stats, from another college at RIT. So I had to discuss with my advisor, and all, you can say, most of the faculties are like helpful in like guiding which course to take and which would help in your research to build the foundation. So yeah, Jade.
Yeah, I think I would echo a lot of what was just said. There is a lot of flexibility, at least in my case there has been, but I think at RIT in general there seems to be a lot of flexibility on what courses you can take. You know, there are openings for you to take courses outside of your major if you think that it would help your research. It's just a matter of discussing it with your advisor. So really having like, you know, being able to suggest and maybe, you know, sort of practice defending, you know, your choice to your advisor, like why you think it would be important to take this class and how it might serve you well for your research. I think that's the best way to sort of approach things, and they are the ones who ultimately approve those courses. But you know, as was said, you know, there are basic courses that you're required to take, but there's also a lot of flexibility.
One thing that I'll add on to that, and this is something that I did a lot, is it's something people don't normally think about, and that's auditing classes. So because of my master's, I had a lot of classes that doubled up. So I only had to take 4 classes to be done with PhD classes. But there was so much stuff that I wanted to learn, which sounds super geeky. And there were a lot of classes in other departments that I maybe wasn't as familiar with, so I didn't want to take the class for a grade. I didn't want this to be stressful. I just wanted to learn the material. So I actually audited like 4 classes in different departments, in the imaging science department, in the College of Science department. So, you know, that is an option. And I talked with my advisor about that before I did it. I also did like some online courses as well. That I audited. So, you know, I talked with him about that. I said, I think this will be really beneficial for me. And we just decided to go ahead and let me audit. So just another option.
And if I could just add a little bit to that, you just made me think of this, but excellent suggestion with auditing. One other thing that you might want to consider also is, you know, are there any courses, even undergraduate courses, that you think, as you sort of like think about your future and how it could help you professionally in your career, are there courses that would be good for you, considering what your research is, to just have on your record that you have taken? So sort of consider that along with it. So, you know, auditing is excellent for learning, but also consider which ones, you know, might be good to actually have on your record too.
While we are on the subject of auditing, shall we tell them about the process on auditing, and since it's completely new for some of the students coming in as well?
Yes, let's go ahead and answer that question.
Yeah.
About the process of auditing?
Yeah.
So I had to talk with my advisor, I had to talk with my department heads, and then I had to talk with the department head who ran whatever department that the class was under. So I had to get approvals from people that they could let me take it. Unfortunately, because of class sizes, you know, I was limited. Like, there was one class I really wanted to take, but I couldn't because the class was full. And even though you're auditing and you're not like a burden in terms of grading, you still can't, you know, you can't just kind of worm your way in. I tried. So I had to get, you know, a lot of approvals. They'll give you forms that you need to fill out. I believe I talked to the registrar's office just about how that process works. And then what would happen is the other department or my department head would add the class for me into my like SIS system. And that was just because I was not a part of the department, I did not have approval as a student to add those classes. So the administrators at the department level would add the class for me into my schedule and mark it as an audit, which meant, you know, no grades, no nothing. However, I did ask permission from the professor a few times to make sure that they were comfortable with me auditing and to make sure that they knew that, you know, I had a pretty full plate and I wasn't intending to do like homeworks or tests or things like that, because you know, I was going back and forth between the hospital and RIT as well. So there were times I missed classes because I had a patient at the hospital. So, you know, I made sure it was okay with the professor and that they understood my situation. And then it was just a matter of talking between the departments.
Thank you, Alyssa, for that. So the next question is, well, an interesting question. How long is the snowfall in Rochester?
So winter in Rochester, in my opinion, is a lovely time. It can start as early as like late October, early November, and can sometimes go until late March, early April. So we do have a very long winter here, which is why Rochesterians love the summer so much, because it's very short here and they kind of soak it all in and make it awesome. So, you know, in terms of snowfall, I grew up in the upstate New York region, which is in the mountains, closer to Vermont. So we would get a ton of snow up there, and it would be really cold, so all the snow would stay on the ground. Whereas in Rochester, because we're next to a giant lake, we have a lot of cycles and things are constantly fluctuating. So it'll snow and then it'll melt, and then it'll snow again, and then it'll melt, and then it'll snow again, and then it'll melt. So, you know, you won't get like 4 feet of snow like I did when I was growing up. We'll get, you know, a little bit of snow. It could be 2 feet sometimes if we get a really big storm, and then it'll all melt, and then it will come back, you know, a few days later. So I don't know if that answered your question. But in terms of dealing with snow, if you have questions about that, my 4 recommendations is to get a really good coat. And sometimes you can buy these coats at like Goodwill or Salvation Army. I mean, they have surprisingly good stuff sometimes. Is to get a really good pair of gloves, because you can most definitely get frostbite if you're not careful. And of course, that's only when, you know, it's very cold outside, and it depends on how long you're outside, but just don't be stupid about it. Just buy a good pair of gloves. Buy wool socks. So wool socks will keep your feet really warm, and because they're not made of cotton, they will not soak your feet. So even if your feet get wet, the socks won't like keep the moisture in like cotton would. So wool will just kind of wick it away. 100% buy wool socks. You can buy them for like $4 at Walmart. Just make sure that there's not cotton in them. You can also go to places like EMS, which actually has a college student discount if you want like the really good stuff. That's actually a camping hiking store. And there's one in Pittsford. There's an EMS down here. And then my last recommendation is to get a really good pair of boots. I see all the time. I had a student in my lab come. She came in the middle of January, and she was wearing boots that she bought in Mexico, which is where she was from. And she was like, I need new shoes the first day. I was like, yes, those are not boots. Please do not buy boots elsewhere, buy boots in Rochester, because the boots, you know, that are sold here are made for here. So you can buy really good winter boots. Again, you can buy them at Walmart. I would try to look for boots with like rubber soles, because if it's icy, it'll help you stick to the ground a little bit better. And I would try to find boots that are, I guess, like not made of cloth, so that, you know, are made of rubber or are made of some sort of material where the liquid will just kind of roll down them and not stick to them. Those are my recommendations.
That's excellent. Excellent. I just want to take a minute. Very good, Alyssa. I've spent the last 26 years in Rochester working at RIT, and I want to say that winter can be very, very beautiful. And one of the things I want everyone to know is that on the roads and on campus, it's well cared for in terms of your safety and security, but there's no doubt you just want to dress warmly. And if you are, then it's a beautiful, beautiful white snowfall. I want to answer one of the questions. Somebody typed in, being a remote student, how do I explore different projects that professors are working on, as the college research portals seem to have limited information on current projects? I think most of it's online. As I think it was Jade said, perhaps, that you want to look at those, the staff directory, go to the college website, click on the faculty page, click on the faculty research link, and read their bios and their CV information. There are also external links, not external links, but RIT links off the main page, www.rit.edu, and it links you to research centers. You are not at a disadvantage. I think the posters are great, but there's even more information online. You have to persevere. You have to do your research. It's just like researching for a paper. Go to the RIT website, look at what the faculty are doing, click on all the research center links, click on all the college links, and that information is available to you. And to the extent that you connect with someone like you did now, like many of you may have come in with certain research projects online, and I think Alyssa said, I really wish I would have known more about what was out there. Feel free to continue that sort of work and look online. And then as a very well versed person about some particular faculty member's project, I would then say, go ahead and email them. Don't email somebody without doing your research first. Don't make them, you know, say, I've done a lot of research online. I see that you're working on this. You know, it's very tied, it's tied to my thing. Don't email someone without doing the legwork first. I think that's my recommendation in terms of solidifying a faculty committee and solidifying a research interest area or project. I don't think a remote student is any less able to do that than someone on campus. Not at all.
And one thing I'll add to that. So my advisor right now, you know, he always takes in a lot of students. And we had students that worked in our lab before things started to shut down who are now permanently remote. And, you know, we met and she is going to continue working with us for this next semester. She's just going to continue with her project, and we're going to have, well, not me because I won't be here, but they're going to have, you know, check-ins to make sure that everything is going ahead as planned. And with my advisor, you know, we're always looking for more students. I mean, we have so many project ideas, but we don't have the students. So Laura makes a really good point. Just reach out to these professors, do your research, figure out what they're doing, and then just email them. Because we've gotten a few people who have just kind of cold emailed us and said, I'm really interested in what you're working on. And that's in fact one of the students that's working remotely. She was just interested. We started working over the summer with her remotely, and now she's going to be continuing into the fall semester. So it's completely okay to do that.
I'll add one more point to that. Based on what Laura said, I kind of did the same thing. So when I came here for my master's, initially I did not know who to start or who to work with. So like I just went on the websites, looked at their bios, sent them an email like, I'm interested in this part of your research or what you're working on. And then from there you can go. Definitely right now, you might not have those many options to connect as quickly as possible, working remotely or working from somewhere else. But definitely, I'm pretty sure no professor would be like, oh, we cannot meet right now. I'm pretty sure you'd get response very quickly.
And something to add to what everyone said, now the interesting way is that if you are unsure, and if like one way I use is like if a professor is teaching a class that's somewhat important to you and like someone aligns with you, you could also like go in and like before you could physically go and sit in. But in this case, you can even email them and say, I'm interested in what you're doing and I'm interested in this class. Can I join in? And like in most cases, they might let you join in as well. So now we'll move on to the next question. So it'll be, so it's coming from a student and they're asking, what should be the characteristics of an ideal graduate research assistant? How to deal with supervisors' expectations? And before I open up for the rest of it, I'd say, be honest with your advisor and be communicative. If you have any questions, and you'll most likely have your weekly meetings as well. Make sure you raise them up and whatever the problems you have, tell them, and they are here to guide you. And that's something I'd like to say. So rest of us.
I can tag along for that one. Actually, it takes basically that you know your advisor and you know his style. You're gonna find advisors that are very involved. They like to know every detail of what you're doing. And then you will also find advisors that they would just like give you a general idea and allow you to work and go in any direction that you kind of like feel like going. You just gotta have to like keep them updated every week. So in regards to that, it will depend a lot on your advisor. So I would say the important thing is that you make sure that you are aligned with your advisor and that you know what kind of things, like what is the style of your advisor. In my case, for example, I am one of those people that I need a task and then just like give me a task and give me a due date and I will like work towards it and I will deliver. But as I was starting, I found out that my advisor actually was more the type of person who will want regular updates, even if it was like a minimum thing that I was doing or that I had finished. She still wanted to know that I was finishing things, that I was doing, like finishing small tasks. So I had to change my style, and instead of just being like, I'll give you like during the due date, I'll tell you what I did. I had to like change it more into more like weekly updates and those type of things. So I would say it depends a lot on your advisor. Just talk to them and make sure that you're on the same page. And as Cyril was saying, always be honest, always be open. If you run into something that you're not understanding, or if you run into something that is going to delay you, make sure that they're the first ones to know.
Yeah, one more thing to that. If you like really think about it, you can actually go ahead and in the start create like a plan or something with your advisor where you figure out how you want to go ahead for the next whatever many years that you're going to be here. So like you want a regular update setting, or you want to just have the initial point where like, okay, this is the work I need to do. And then you focus on yourself, or you provide weekly updates, or as Omar just said, small point, but got to know. So it's good idea that you talk to your advisor before, during the start of your PhD, and discuss these points.
And as I would continue, like as Omar said, like earlier, I was that type of a person where I wanted to give my best, but sometimes it would be like I could not meet my expectations of my advisor. So it's not always like, and if I have some difficulty, I would go to my advisor and seek for some directions, because sometimes in PhD, like not sometimes, many a times we feel directionless and we need directions. Like, and of course there are other advisors, or you can say like professors, who can help us to like what we want, and also discussing with your fellow mates would help. So that's my suggestion. Yeah.
Anything to add, Lisa and Jared?
I don't think so. I think you guys pretty much summed it up.
Yeah, I would say, you know, pretty much echoing the same things. It's a little bit, I think, I guess, you know, research who, you know, who you're researching under. I guess it's a little bit specific to them, but I think in general, just being very communicative and proactive, you know, if you have questions, is regarded highly.
All right, so we'll move on to the next question with the interest of time as well. Can you talk about the general timeline for coursework and research we should follow throughout our PhD?
For that, I think it might be a little bit different depending on the department that you're in. Most like the major requirement would that be the number of credits that you're required to finish as part of your PhD. It also will depend if you are a continuing student from RIT or from somewhere else, a transfer student or that. But as far as general timeline go, it's about 5 years, I would say, 4 to 5 years at the least. Anybody else can weigh in on that.
Well, like I said, my credits transferred, so I did it in 3.5. So I did my first 1.5 years classes, and then after that, very, very research heavy. So basically, after you take your qualifying exam, you can expect that it's going to be pretty research heavy. And you generally take your qualifiers about 1 year into the program. I think that's universal across all the departments, but I could be wrong about that. And the qualifying exam will look different depending on what department you're in. But generally, after your qualifying exam, at the end of that, if you pass, you are then qualified to be a PhD research student. So then you do research up until your candidacy, and if you pass that, you become a doctoral candidate, and then, you know, you finish up from there. So I mean, I had a classmate that did it in, he broke a record. I think it was 2 years and 11 months. And this guy was like, he was a workhorse. And he's one of the smartest people I know. He didn't, go through his program and just kind of take all the shortcuts. He worked really hard and he just finished it very early. So it really changes per person. But generally you want to take most of your course load at the beginning of your program.
Yeah, and to just add to that, I don't know if it's totally the same, but I think that it may be the same across different programs. But in engineering, you're required before your candidacy exam to have all of your coursework finished, and then it's research after that in order to take the candidacy exam. At least that's how it is now. And so the candidacy exam is when you're actually making your proposal for your dissertation research.
I wanted to add to that, that in regards to the timeline, I've seen that it also depends on what kind of project you're involved with. Like if you're getting, for example, a stipend and you're tied to a project and the project has due dates that you have to like present reports and do papers on, then that might actually also like affect that timeline. Like maybe you might not be able to concentrate the first year only on coursework, but you will have some deliverables in regards to research too. So, and that goes back to what we were talking before about communicating with your advisor and like being clear on how you guys want to design your program. I've seen some students that they have a deliverable during the first year, so they don't take that much like heavy coursework. They kind of like focus on the research first, and then they start mixing up the coursework.
All right, so we'll move on to our next question. So the next question, I think it's more on how do you get acquainted in RIT as well. It's, will the recorded classes and assignments be uploaded in SIS itself? And generally, SIS, I think, Laura, do you want to take this over?
It's going to vary by class. It's going to vary by professor. It's going to vary greatly. And Gaurav mentioned my courses. So there's going to be a variation of approach based on the class. So to say that it's all recorded, I would say if they're doing a live session, if they're presenting, you can expect that it would be recorded. I don't know that every class assignment, everything is going to be recorded. Some things may be presented differently in a different format, but it's going to vary greatly by what the syllabus of the class is, what the assignment is, and what the expectations of from the professor's standpoint are as well. So I don't want to say yes to everything, but it will be, as a remote student, I feel confident that RIT has spent a great deal of time, and the fact that they're offering it to you remotely, that they've spent some time putting together the course and identifying what is the best way to convey this information, and it will be done well. I think if you have any questions, just as I don't know who said this, but you have to be proactive and indicate and ask questions. You can't ask questions in person by walking down the hall, but you can ask questions via email. The system that they have developed will be interactive in many different ways, whether it's live, recorded, chats, etc. I don't know if any of you guys finished up online in the spring and might want to share a little bit of information. Maybe you were all in a research mode, but it is possible, and it will be a good and I think strong way to start your term. Even though it's not the best way, I think you'll feel confident that'll be good.
So I'd like to add something to Laura. So this is coming from the other end of it being a teacher itself. So I taught a class, I'm teaching class over the summer. So we have Zoom sessions, and in my case, so before we get into it, so for a student, there is two systems. SIS is the student information system, and that's where you go for registering, enrolling courses, dropping courses, and getting a transcript and records and everything. And there's also My Courses, which is more of a learning management system where you can get everything related to the course, like the lectures, the assignments, where you submit your assignments, discussions, and everything happens on My Courses itself. And I believe during orientation, you would have information more on how these two systems work. And when it comes to remote learning or even on campus learning, everything would be either sent through my courses. Professors would upload everything over there, or you'd get an email from a professor, this is my website and I'll be uploading the content over here. But keep an eye on all these emails, and RIT, as in like, we have, as in like since March, everything has been adjusting to these remote learning sessions. So it's been a while now, everything is tuned up for remote learning and blended learning as well. Anyone want to add?
One more point I'll add to that. So we used to have certain classes that were online. I have taken a class initially in an online modality, but that was only just the coursework. So every like whatever presentation the advisor, the professor had, they would just put that on my courses as a video file, so you can look at the information.
Also, I wanted to add, like in my courses, you will see you can say a portal for discussion. So over there, you can discuss related to that course itself. So you will have a much clear idea, and also others who can answer those questions, like your advisor, or there is a TA who is appointed usually. He can also clear your doubts regarding that specific course. So yeah, that's it.
So picking up from the online learning approach, so next question is, how will the exams be held for remote PhD students? And in most cases, so far, everything has been, it depends on like the courses and the professors and how they want to do it. And when it comes to qualifying exams, I think I know for computer science and the College of Computing and Information Sciences, even the qualifying exam was held over Zoom. The defenses and everything is over Zoom. And I'd say it's more of a specific thing for a course and the professor. Anyone want to add?
One of the, hold on a minute. There's a huge number of master's degree students that are starting remotely, and we have had some presentations from people from RIT Online. One of the things that I want to point out is that even though you're starting remotely, you are held to RIT policies tied to your expectations of, I guess, not cheating. And what is the word I'm looking for?
Academic honesty?
Ethics or honesty?
Ethics. Yeah, academic ethics and honesty and that sort of thing. So it is really upon you to make sure that you are doing the work and that you are following any academic policies related to continuing your studies and ethics and all that sort of stuff. It was one of the things they pointed out. It might be easy to have somebody else be doing your work when you're not in the classroom, but we obviously you want to be successful, and this is very important to you. So those are one of the things we just wanted to point out. And there is support. There will be support for you from ITS, Information Technology Services, if needed. There will be support from RIT Online if needed from a technical standpoint. Otherwise, I think most of what you'll have delivered is what these guys said through Zoom and just through the internet. So a really good internet connection is going to be helpful. That's one of the things they said. If you don't have it at home and you need to be part of a live session, then you'll need to go somewhere where you have a really good internet connection.
All right, thank you, Laura. So I think the next question should also be some directed towards Laura as well. So one question is, does RIT provide any type of financial aid to get enrolled into useful online courses?
So as an incoming PhD student, I'm assuming that you're all fully funded for tuition already, and that depending on what your assistantship was, your stipend may or may not be part of this. So I'm not sure what you mean in terms of financial aid. Financial aid for international students is in the form of scholarships and assistantships, and it's already been awarded to you. It's awarded at the time of your admission. I think beyond that, once you're a current student any additional aid is something that you figure out with your faculty research advisor. So I guess I'm at a loss. If you want to be more clear about how to get enrolled into useful online courses, I think when you enroll in courses, as we talked previously, it's what course do you have to take? You work with an academic advisor, you enroll in those courses, your tuition is covered based on your award of 100% tuition.
Laura, there's something to add. I think they mean online courses from platforms, external platforms such as Coursera, edX, or Udacity.
I'm going to direct those questions related to edX because if it's not part of your degree program and you're matriculated in degree program, you have 100% tuition for that. Anything external to that is not something that's going to be recovered unless it's part of your degree program. The edX courses, we don't provide financial aid for that unless it's required as part of your degree. So, I would direct those questions to my colleague, Karen Palmer, who works with RIT Online. We do not provide scholarships for edX. I can say that. And whether or not it's required for your degree, I can't help you with that. I don't know. But you've been admitted and will provide tuition for those classes that are required for your first year.
Thank you, Laura. So the next question is, as I will be starting my PhD remotely from this fall, I won't be arriving at RIT campus mid-semester. Do I have to pay the student activity PhD fee and the grad student health services fee?
First of all, if you're arriving mid-semester, make sure that you're communicating with me, with ISS and your faculty advisor. That's my first point. We are not offering, we are not promoting the arrival mid-semester to everyone. If you are starting remotely, you're continuing remotely unless you have specific permission to come in during the middle of the year or late. Do you have to pay the student activity fee? I think the answer to that would be yes, but it would be prorated. So if you're starting remotely, that fee should be removed. If you arrive on campus and you take advantage of campus services from student health and all of that sort of thing, then the answer would be yes, and they would most likely prorate it based on the time you're here. And I guess it depends on when you come as well. So I'm not going to say it's no, but you probably will be charged that fee based on the time that you arrive.
Thank you, Laura. And I think more of the final question. How many hours do we have to work as a research assistant? And how many hours of our research assistantship is manageable with the course load? Anyone want to add?
I can take a first stab at that. First of all, and I want to tie it to another question that was here about work-life balance. The rest of the guys can give their input, but in my experience, the program allows you to organize yourself so that you can have a good work-life balance. That will be different for everyone, but in my experience, the program is not designed so that it is impossible for you to have that balance. And one of the things I'm going to tie into that is this question. For example, as a student, you are limited to work no more than 20 hours a week. So you will not be given a load in regards to work outside of your academics higher than 20 hours. So that will be the maximum amount of hours that you can take. And in regards to a minimum of the exact amount, that will depend on who you're being a research assistant with.
I'll add on to that. Yes, as he said that, you're only allowed to work, officially you're allowed to work 20 hours and you'll be getting paid for that. And yeah, the workload will definitely be more than the 20 hours that you're working because as an RA, you're required to do a lot more. With coursework, initially you might find a little bit of an imbalance while you're still trying to figure things out. And yeah, during the first year, it might not be completely manageable off the bat. But yeah, one other thing is, if you work out with your advisor and with whoever you're working with, you should be quite easily able to manage your workload while you're also doing your coursework, and then maybe you can shift things around as you move forward in your PhD. Yeah, you definitely will not get more than what is required or what you can handle, or you should probably not try to do that. But yeah, that's the main thing.
Did any of you drop classes? I mean, I want to make sure that everyone's clear that if you find that it's unmanageable and you want to drop one class, that they understand that there's a last day to drop at in order to not have a withdrawal, not a withdrawal, but a failing grade on your.
So I have dropped, I think within the first week. So is that like
Yes.
usually when the semester starts for you all, like the first week more is a trial and error. You can go to the classes and drop without any record of it on your transcript. And there's another option to drop, similar to what Laura mentioned, towards the end of the semester for the withdrawal grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that will appear on your transcript as well, but it won't affect your GPA.
I think you guys all know this, but it really is, in order to succeed, you really have to be motivated, self-motivated, and you really have to understand and take responsibility. I don't know what happened at your undergraduate degree. Some of these students may be coming in from a bachelor's degree and not necessarily a master's degree previously. So it is about motivating yourself and being proactive to help yourself and asking questions and seeking help and not sitting back and waiting. And I think from the standpoint of many of you or some of you starting remotely, that's even more important. In order to succeed, it's all about self-motivation and self-organization and paying attention and getting online every single day. You have to make yourself accountable. And what do you need to do to make it happen so that you succeed, so that when you come to campus in January, you don't feel behind, that you should be equal. It's just the fact that you weren't on campus. It really is going to be important that you guys our new incoming students are self-motivated. And then I think that goes to the on-campus students too. You know, be proactive, take responsibility for what you want to do and how you want to succeed and what your experience is here at RIT. And that goes for extracurricular wise and from a coursework perspective, an educational perspective.
And thank you, Laura, for that. So we are closing in on our time. So before we wind up, anyone has any final thoughts to add for the incoming PhD students?
If there's any questions that are about the process or about anything that's not like what we talked about here today, PhD, you know, as a student perspective, feel free to email me. You should all have had enough emails from me already, and we've communicated a lot. I am trying to keep up on emails, but lawrpt@rit.edu. Feel free to send me an email, and I will either direct you to one of these students, one of the DSA students, or to your academic department, or if I can answer it myself, I will. And I'm very pleased that you all joined us, and we look forward to welcoming you to RIT, remotely or otherwise. Thank you. Great job, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have two last questions. Sorry about that. So that will be the last one is an interesting one. Although I'm not related to my major, can I learn sign language from RIT?
Yes. I will say, so there are classes and they are very competitive to get into those classes. But if it's something you're interested in, you can definitely, they have classes to learn. You will learn some basic signs just walking around campus. You know, thank you, sorry, excuse me. And then the last thing that I'll say is there are clubs. I'm not sure if they'll be meeting or what that will look like if they're going to do remotely. But there is a club called the No Voice Zone, where basically deaf, hard of hearing, and hearing students can all come together, and there's no talking allowed. So I've had friends who have learned, who are now fluent in sign language just from going to that club every week or twice a week or whatever. So you can most definitely learn American Sign Language, ASL, from RIT.
Omar, do you have anything to add before we wind up?
So I was gonna plug in for No Voice Zone, but at least I got there. So just want to say No Voice Zone is a great option if you don't want to have like the pressure of taking a class, having a grade. Like that is definitely a great option to go. It's very informal, but you learn a lot.
One thing I'll add is you can definitely audit courses and stuff like that. I'm not sure if you can do that with ESL just yet, but yeah, on across campus or across different departments, if you find a course that you feel like you want to learn about or know about, you can definitely go ahead and talk to the advisor and see if you can audit the course and then like go ahead and fill out the application for that.
All right, so I guess we'll wind it up. Thank you everyone for joining in. I know we have some questions that we weren't able to get to, and for those, I recommend reaching out to DSA through the Facebook groups, and our contact information is all on the slides. And well, whenever you come in, we have our welcome mixer during the orientation week as well. So thank you all for joining in. Thank you all for the panelists, Laura and Lindsay, for organizing things, and stay healthy, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone. Have a good day.
Bye, everyone.
Bye, guys.